All right, yeah. Shane, yeah, just close the door. I'm about to go do it now. Yeah, the carbonation thing. Yeah, close the door. We're gonna re-examine and have an update on carbonation. I don't want to go into all what carbonation is, all that type of stuff and everything. That's going to be on your individual time. I should say that you can go over those and get a better understanding, get your own perspective and your own feeling of what that quote was to you. And being able to do what we have done is being able to listen to what the teachings and what they call the knowledge has done to the minds of the individual members that were a part of that cult. Now, we weren't able to examine everybody. Like there's only certain ones that who's a part of that cult that continue to express how they feel through social media, through behavior is another big thing. Because we just don't go by what a person talks and what a person says. We go by finding absolute truth, and we can find a lot of absolute truth inside a human being by observing consistency in behavior. Because we feel like it's easy to manipulate somebody with words. It's easy to manipulate somebody through energy. Like you can manipulate energy. Like you know what I'm saying? People have done it before. You can manipulate human energy. For an example, I ain't gonna say me. That'll be a bad example. Say there's a guy who can pretend that he loves a woman. He can pretend so much that the woman would actually believe it, right? In order to obtain something from her. What the woman is receiving is energy, right? Now, a person may say, like, oh, she wasn't able to read energy correctly and everything like that. And then I would have to just challenge the listeners right now is, have you ever been able to read energy correctly all your life? And you haven't. Because human beings have manipulated that energy into making you believe something. The people listening to this right now have made you believe something that wasn't true. And the reason why you found out that information that it wasn't true is through consistency in behavior. You watched how they was moving, you watched their actions, and you watched how they treated you and all that type of stuff, and you really figured out that the words didn't match the behavior. What they told you didn't match the behavior. What they told you what they were did not match the behavior. You know what I mean? So what truly governs a human being? What they say about themselves or what we watch about their behavior? So what we do is, me and the Qs, we just examine certain people, and we're not examining them to pass judgment on nobody's lives and everything like that. We're examining them to be able to create medicine for it not to happen to us, and being able to create medicine that can help save the lives of so many other human beings on this planet that are looking for the things that the carbonation cult members were supposed to be doing. Like it started off as something that people can resonate with, living in nature and things like that, and it progressed to being something else. The behavior of the human being who is the leader, or who was the leader, however you want to be able to look at it, his behavior was consistent. Like he's shown his behavior. His behavior was not a reflection of what he was teaching. So the reason why so many people speak on being traumatized from their experiences in that cult is based on behavior. They're separating the teachings from the behavior. That's what we noticed. And there's a There's a line being drawn by people who are able to think for themselves and people who are not able to think for themselves, which is this. This is the line that's being drawn. Some members will say, I don't fuck with him as an individual. I don't like what he did to me, blah, blah, blah. But the teachings were interesting and I can apply some of those things in my life. That type of separation. Some people will say, I don't care if he beat my ass. I don't care if he gave me an STD. I don't care about none of those things. The information is what really, really matters. And if I apply it to my life, it can make my life better. Something like that. That's what we found. We found evidence in that. Now, I look at certain individuals, right? And I look at what they've said, right? I look at the individual's behavior, and I also look at the information, right? So the information that's being taught, the knowledge, right, that's being taught. Nature Boy will say, if you keep the knowledge, it will transform your life into being this. You will be a god, right? And then we come across evidence that he will say, if you keep the knowledge, you will be my servant, and your children will be servants to my children. Those are two opposite poles. That is a master, and then there is a slave. If you're godly, you're a master of yourself. You can create things in this world that this world has never been seen before, and you can help humanity in a righteous way if you're godly. Righteous, right? Somebody could have godly energy and destroy shit and kill people and all that shit. I don't even really think that's godly energy. Because I remember my grandma used to tell me, she used to be like, sometimes when you think you're talking to God, you're really talking to the devil. When you're getting advice, when you think you're getting advice from God, you know what I'm saying? You could be getting advice from the devil. So you have to be able to know the difference between both of those entities out here in the world. Which is interesting as hell, right? You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand it when she was teaching to me, but I definitely understand it now. So what I look at is this. I've separated, right? I'm on the side of separating the man from the information. And I'm doing that for the purpose of seeing if the information actually works. Seeing if the knowledge actually works. And when I'm saying works, I'm saying the person who is the teacher, he is saying that if you believe in this knowledge that I'm giving you, this is going to be the result if you practice it every day. So he created something, and now he knows what the results will be if you practice it. Now, what I noticed in the evidence of looking at it is that he didn't practice his own knowledge because what he said you're supposed to be, he wasn't that. If you asked him, does the knowledge make you beat women? Does the knowledge impair your problem-solving skills where you don't get women tested for diseases when they come from Babylon, which the leaders said is the most nastiest fucked up place on the earth? But he will mate with them without knowing what's inside their body for real, and you've seen the result of it. A lot of women in his tribe was infected with STDs. So think about that. What is the result of the information? So he didn't practice it, right? Because one of the results of information is what they call a divine masculine male. And the divine masculine male has certain behavioral traits, certain ways that he practices and governs himself every single day. So when I see the males from carbonation, when I look at solar, or I look at, I'm going to use him as an example. I don't want to go further than that. So when I look at him as an example, the knowledge that teaches you to be divine masculine, you're not divine masculine now. And that's interesting. Because when you have information, when you embody information, like, look, a lot of people will say they do stuff, right? But when you truly embody information, you start to practice it in everyday life. So let me give you an example of somebody who done it. Martin Luther King Jr., right? He embodied nonviolence. And he died that way. Being nonviolent. He did not change that. That was his stance. Nonviolence. No matter how much they hit me upside the head, I'm not going to hit you back. I believe that love can conquer hate. This whole type of philosophy, everything like that, right? He lived that. He actually lived it. You can see it in his behavior. You can see it in his actions. Belief systems matching up equally and equivalent to the behavior. He talked it, he lived it. Now, when we go back to, before we go back there, like, is that the realest? Why do people love Martin Luther King so much, dude? Is because he really lived what he was talking about. And he died for what he was talking about. For what he believed in, he died. Somebody killed that man. Right? So when I go back to the males on that carbonation, I call it the plantation. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put that out there. We call it the carbonation plantation over here. So we refer to where everybody was at, the place where everybody was housed at. It don't matter where you was housed at. We feel that was a plantation. So they moved from plantation to plantation. Now let's look at before we get on solar, right? Before we get into that situation, right? Let's look at one of the biggest things that people believed in was living in nature and its benefits. Wasn't that one of the biggest things that people believed in? Living in nature, going to the tropics, being amongst the trees, all these different types of things. It's so beautiful, right? Yet, women were being beaten, sexually coerced, and this is by factual evidence because the people who have experienced that have spoken out and said this has happened to them. So that's evidence, right? And it all happened in nature. When we seen Velvet and Janae, I believe her name is, Janae, when we seen them fighting on the beach, beating each other up, fighting each other, and all that type of stuff, that actually happened in nature. It was by a beach or by some body of water. They were around trees. They were in nature. They were in the tropics somewhere, right? In a warm climate. They were in the environment that they chose for themselves to bring out the best brain activity and live the best life that they possibly can that was above people that were in Babylon or around the world. They felt like the tropics was the best place to be. You were the best teacher in the world. So your life is going to be the best in anybody else's life on this planet, pretty much, or close to it. Yet you see two black women mauling each other damn near to death. And then you see a black male instigating that activity. And they're in nature. Now, some people would say nature is violent in nature. I believe he said that to try to justify what he was doing to people. They're animals in nature. They're lions and they're insects, and they all fight each other and all these different types of things and all that type of stuff, right? But then I'm saying to the people, and even to myself, is human beings are not insects. You can't compare them. The only thing that you can compare an insect or another animal, the only comparison is everybody's alive and everybody is doing something. If I see a praying mantis sitting on a branch, just sitting there, just still, it's still doing something. I just don't know what it's doing. It's sitting there for a reason. It's there. It's looking around for something. I don't know what's going on in his brain, but it's sitting there. Now, I may perceive it's not doing anything, but the human being and animals and insects are always doing something. Even when it looks like they're not doing anything from somebody else's point of view and somebody else's perception. So when I look at that and understand that, the behavior of who Nature Boy really, really is what mattered. And if an individual who's a leader doesn't practice what they believe in, what is that telling you about that leader? Let's look at Martin Luther King, right? Martin Luther King. What did Martin Luther King say? I want all the people in the world to be nonviolent and practice nonviolence, and just people out in the world getting their head beat in, practicing it, and then when he gets hits in the head, he shoots somebody and kills him. What does that say about Martin Luther King? Would you say he believed in nonviolence? No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. What would you say? For real. I caught that thought. What would you say? What would you say for real about Martin Luther King? You would say he's a fraud, right? Because people who can think for themselves have incredible critical thinking skills and they have incredible problem solving skills. People who can't think for themselves has to rely on somebody else to solve the problem for them and has to rely on somebody else to do the critical thinking for them, which in turn turns them into a slave, and that individual who can do that for them is their master. So what we seen was a man talk about knowledge and information. And we all know that it wasn't really his knowledge and information. Like, he took a lot of that from the works of other people. And he added stuff on it. And he gave it to all these people in the world. And it poisoned them. There's evidence of it. But what's so hard is we can't find evidence where the knowledge actually helped somebody or improved their life and transformed their life into a way that they wanted to be able to go. Knowledge solves problems. Now, when we look at certain individuals that went over there to that plantation, they had problems. It was something that was a problem in their life, and they went there to be able to have a better understanding of what it is and to be able to solve that problem. If there's something that you feel like you need in this world and you can't get it, that is a problem. You're going to try to solve that puzzle. You're going to try to find a way of getting what you need. If there's something that you want in this world and you do not have it, if I want a blue pen and I don't have it and I can't use it for what I want to be able to do, that is a problem right there. I have to solve that. Where are the blue pens in the world? Where can I go find one, right? So this is what those human beings did. They went to the plantation in order to solve problems, right? They felt that the information that they would receive and get closer to the leader will help them solve more problems. Like if you get to the source of something, if you get closer to it, um, you'll probably get the problem solved a lot better. So everybody's on the plantation with problems, and the information and the knowledge that they digest every single day should be helping them solve those problems. Is that true? What is the point of going on to the plantation? If you listen to these people talk, they all had problems. They all had something that they wanted to be able to experience. Okay? So we're solving problems here. So when they get there, no problems are actually solved because the teacher and the information cannot solve the individualistic problems inside the human being that's there. Every human being has different things that happen to them. Every human being that was over there has a different experience in life. They're not all the same at all, right? They'll tell you that. So you have all these different human beings who have all these different problems that need medicine, right? The medicine is what solves the problem. If you're afflicted with something, if you've been going through depression, you had sexual trauma or everything like that, then the leader is the leader. I'm not saying the leader is supposed to, but is the leader, maybe I should say suppose. Is the leader supposed to look at the individual and try to solve the problem? The information should be able to do that, right? But it didn't. So that becomes a problem in itself. So a lot of people who have left the plantation, who have digested that information, now here we go with Solar, who have digested that information, he is a main supporter and all that of the knowledge. Keep the knowledge. No, keep the knowledge. You know, if you apply it, you know what I'm saying, they'll do this and do that and everything like that, right? So we look at Solar, who digested all this information for countless years. Then he gets out into the world, right? He leaves the plantation. The leader is taken into custody for charges, crimes against humanity. A woman is part of humanity. She is a human. A crime was committed, or he was accused of a crime. Let's say it like that. Accused of a crime. And he was handcuffed and put into jail, and he's been in jail for over a year now because of that accusation. And he said he was a god. Now, if we look at that right there, let's stop right there and let's look at that. We have a man who taught that his followers and the people around and people who were listening, that they were all gods. He preached and he believed that the black man was God. He said he was the second coming of Jesus Christ. He was one of the greatest thinkers in the world, if not the best world. His knowledge was supreme over anything that anybody's ever created. Like, he said these things out of his mouth. He believed these things to be true. He had a strong dislike for the white man system. He he didn't want to live in Babylon. He felt Babylon was not the place to be. He said being close to the sun, being close to the equator, the Tropic of Capricorn, Cancer, wherever. Like, he said being close to the equator, uh, was the best place to live. Babylon was not the place. All that type of stuff, right? These are his teachings. This is part of his knowledge. You know what I mean? It all goes together, right? So when white supremacy, the system of white supremacy, or the system of white people who he said he did not like, showed up to his house and said, you have been accused of blah, 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 blah. And he's saying, like, what the fuck is you talking about, man? I never did none of that, man. That's not me, dude. I did not do it. Well, we believe that you did based on what somebody else has said. So we have a warrant to see certain things inside his house, and we are going to put you in jail until we figure out if what you're saying is true. You're going to have to prove it. That is extreme power over a black man who said he's a god. Now, we looked at we went back, me and Jane went back, and we was looking at all the gods that's ever been recorded in the history of the world. We was looking at a lot of, we spent a lot of hours, because this was one of our biggest things, and I posed this question: can a human being imprison a god? Can a human being kill a god? So we looked at all these different cultures, and we looked at all their gods, and we have found no evidence of a human being approaching a god, taking that god away from its environment that it has for itself, and putting it in a cage and eliminating its freedom to do what it really, really wants to do for itself. We found no evidence of that. Now, Nature Boy don't want to be in jail. If he had a choice right now to be free or stay in jail, he'll choose freedom, obviously, right? We all pretty much choose freedom, right? Freedom, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're a god or the second Jesus Christ and all that type of stuff, why can't you free yourself? That is the main thing. Why can't you free yourself? How is it possible that a human being can take away your freedom and you're a god? You're higher than a human being. So how's that possible? When the God created human beings. So how is something that you created can do something bad to you? So when I look at that, when we look at us as human beings, right? When we look at God, we can't, as much as we don't like some of the things that have happened to us in our life, and as much as we want to look at God and say, oh, you're a bad person or a bad entity or whatever you want to call it, we cannot put God in a human jail and restrict his freedom in his universe. You only can do that to a human. So then we just come through the evidence of white supremacy. What we believe is this. We believe that you can be whatever it is that you want to be in this world until you are approached, until you have a collision with something or someone who doesn't believe you. And when we look at absolute truth, when you have that collision, you are still going to be what you said you are after the collision. Now, if I rolled up on a boxer, a person says, I am the greatest boxer in the world. And I could defeat anybody. Can't no, I'm undefeated. Can't nobody beat me. Whatever like that. And I look at that person. I'd be like, you know what? You're not a boxer for real. I don't believe that you're the best boxer. I don't even believe that you're a professional, whatever like that. I will engage with you and let's have a boxing match. If I win, is he still considered the best boxer in the world? If I knock him out, is he considered the best boxing the boxer in the world? Right? No, you can't say he's the best boxer in the world because I beat him. Now, if I'm in a boxing match and the person said he's the best boxer in the world and he beats me, he beats the hell out of me or whatever like that, right? Then we'll look at that as saying like, yes, that is evidence that you're the best boxer in the world. Okay? That's fair, right? We can say that, right? Now, white supremacy or the white man's system or whatever showed up at that house, and we saw a person who thought all these things about himself as being a god surrender to white humans, male humans, with no to put up the fight. The white human did not even draw no weapons on him or nothing like that I know of or anything. Maybe, maybe not. Right? And we seen Nature Boy surrender without no fight. And now there is all these other people around them watching what's happening to their leader. They're all gods. They all believe they're gods. Right? I could say that they're not, but they have a belief system that they are gods. Now, when it's time to prove that you're a god, you don't do it. You let the enemy of your teacher walk in there freely with no resistance, no yelling, no arguing, no disputing, none of that shit, and put him in human handcuffs and take him to jail. And he has to sit in jail until the people who put him there decides when they wanted to let him out. Now, is that evidence right there showing you that the people around him were not really gods? If you're a god, let's ask this question. If you're a god, shouldn't you be able to stop things happening to you that affect you being God? If a person says they're a god and they want to create or tornado, and then somebody says like, fuck that, you know what I mean, they stop them from creating a tornado, are you really the god of tornadoes? If a human being can stop you, what does that mean? So, let's move forward to Solar. All right, we said we was going to talk about that. He's supposed to be divine masculine. Now, Solar is one of his closest, Nature Boy's closest students, whatever it may be. Like I said earlier, he's like, he gets in about the knowledge, right? So when he leaves the plantation, let's look at his behavior. He is supposed to have knowledge of self, right? He's supposed to embody that. And he's supposed to embody divine masculine, being divine masculine male. Right? Just look at just those two things. Right? It's so many other things too, bro. So let's just look at those two. Knowledge of self, divine masculine. Now, when we look at knowledge of self and we look at divine masculine, right, those are words and they have definitions, obviously. And if you are a divine masculine male, you should be able to practice what a divine masculine male is. They said a divine masculine male is a person that has good problem solving skills and everything like that. Your behavior should be a reflection of good problem solving skills. You should be able to solve problems like without no problem, consistently. So when he gets off the plantation, he ends up having sex with the victim of who reported the accusation that got his leader or his master teacher in prison. He mates with her. Just think about that for a second. He leaves the plantation and he mates and has sex with the person that put his teacher or contributed to putting his teacher in jail. That is hella interesting right there. That is interesting. So what does that say about Solar? Is that an act of betrayal? Or is it a way of helping his teacher get out of jail? Which one is it? Let's use our brains here. Is he helping his teacher or is he hurting his teacher? Interesting, right? How would it help? Why would it help? They'll say like, oh, how are you a victim and you had sex with this guy over here, so you must be this type of person, and all that type of stuff. So they try to affect the female's character as far as like what she thought about, you know, accusations or things like that, right? How they say allegedly did something. So he's trying to disrupt the case. That's one way. If he's trying to get him out of jail, that means he is trying to do something to create a way for his teacher to get out of jail. Why would Solar do something like that? If his teacher didn't do anything wrong, and his teacher is a god, no one has to do anything. The truth will come out on its own, right? Solar should not have to go have sex with that woman in order to help his master teacher from getting out of jail. Shouldn't the master teacher know how to get out of jail himself? That's one of the reasons why he's a master's teacher. Because he knows how to get out of every situation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he knows. Off of experience, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, clarity, things like that. Right? So that's why you're a master. That's why you're the teacher. You're smarter than the student. Or it may appear to be that way. So I shouldn't even have to do that to help him get out. Right? You shouldn't have to disrupt an investigation. You disrupt the investigation because you know there's truth to the crime that you're being accused of. So why you do some shit like that? So, what is the other reason? We look at act of betrayal. we look at, did Solar have a certain type of issue with um, the Janae girl having sex with Nature Boy all those times he did? Did he have a problem with Nature Boy in the way he treated Janae somehow, whatever like that? I mean, those type of questions. See, the thing is like, if I ever have a conversation with Solar, I'm not going to get absolute truth. I have to find truth myself. He's not going to give it to me. I'm not. I'm not expecting that to happen. I'm not expecting him to be open and honest like that. He's going to be open, honest from his point of view, but the results are the results. The evidence is the evidence. A person can say like, "Yo, I didn't shoot that person, but you got gun residue all over your fucking hands and your arms and shit, and there's shell cases and shit on the ground with your fingerprints in it. Scientific evidence proves that you are the one who pulled that trigger. So yeah, we gonna lock you up or whatever it may be." You know, I'm looking at factual evidence, man. I'm just not looking at just words. Okay. Why would he have sex with the woman who put his leader, his master teacher, in jail? If it wasn't for the statement she made, the police would never went over there, right? So she is the source, right? Why would he have sex with her? And not only have sex with her, create a child with her as well. That is crazy to a certain degree, right? Is that a reflection and behavior of a divine masculine male? Is that a reflection of knowledge of self? All right? Knowledge of self, like, so if you look at knowledge of self, that means that Solar's has tendencies to betray people. We just don't know about it. Or he has tendencies to disrupt certain things from investigations to find out the truth. Having sex with her is disrupting the investigation to find out the truth. How do you go and have sex with a woman who just committed that type of crime against your master teacher or anybody? How is she attractive? What is it about you that wants to have sex with a rape victim? Like freshly, like what in your own brain, like what would make you have the action, like the energy to go to her and just be like, I want to have sex with you after you know she told you she was sexually traumatized by this individual. That's what rape is, right? It's a sexual trauma. It contributes to that. Why would Solar in his brain want to do that? What is inside his soul that made it seem like that was okay, that was cool? Why would he contribute to the trauma? I'm looking at it like this. If you know somebody has been raped, you shouldn't be having sex with them. That is crazy, right? I don't care who they is. There are other ways of being able to heal or whatever like that, or help a person, you know, something like that. But why would sex be one of them? All right. So we're looking at that. Look at that behavior. Examine that behavior. Is it an act of betrayal, right? Or is it helping his teacher, master teacher, get out of jail by disrupting the investigation of law enforcement? Okay. So not only does Solar do that, he moves away, not literally move away, but he stops talking to Janae. She's pregnant. Then he goes to the empress of the carbonation plantation, like the queen, right? She left the plantation, all that type of stuff, right? And she has a child by his master teacher, right? She has a child by another person, right? And Solar somehow is attracted to her to have sex with her. So not only does he have sex, let's back it up. Not only does he have sex with a rape victim who put his master teacher in prison, right? Because of what she said. Not only does he have sex with her, he goes and then has sex with the ex queen of the carbonation plantation. That is crazy. Why would he have sex with her? Is that an act of betrayal? Or is it a way of helping his master teacher get out of jail? Now, what I've said before is the truth is the truth. You don't even have to put no effort in it. It's just simple. Did you do it or not? And it can be proven. So I shouldn't have to go through all that, especially if he have knowledge of self and he really embodied being a divine masculine and he's able to understand truth. The truth, how the truth can stand on its own, right? Needs no help. But why would he go and have sex with Velvet? When he knows Velvet has been beaten by his master teacher, he knows Velvet has been humiliated by his master teacher. He knows Velvet has been disrespected. He knows that all these different things has happened as a result of being in a relationship with his master teacher. Also, his master teacher is legally married to her in the United States and recognized the United States of America as an actual marriage. So he is breaking those wedding vows created between his master teacher and the former queen of carbonation. He goes over there and has sex with her. After all that, after knowing all that information, is that an act of betrayal? Or is he trying to get his master teacher out of jail? Is the question. I think I have to scratch the getting him out of jail part by now because of the beliefs. Because they believe that things are illusions. They believe that separation is an illusion. They believe that we're not really here in this reality. They believe that you can create your own reality. All these different type of things. So if you really believe that, then you should not be trying to help your master teacher get out of jail at all. All right? If you believe all that. So the thing is I'm going to stop there and I'm going to look at it like, no, I can't stop there. So I have to look at the result. So what happens is he goes from a relationship with Janae, they break up. Then he goes into a relationship with the queen of carbonation, they break up. And he leaves and he goes somewhere else. And Janae has a baby by him. You know, congratulations if she's listening to this right now. She has a baby by him. And he was not there for the birth of the baby. And she pretty much really doesn't want to be involved with him to that degree. Because she was able to figure out through his behavior of what type of person you are. She found out. And she wasn't willing to accept it. And she chose her over the relationship. All right? That could be fair. He goes over there to Velvet and the same thing happens. And when I say the same thing happens, meaning that he gets her pregnant and she sees his behavior and how he is, and she chose not to be with him as well. Interesting. So what does that say about the behavior of Solar at this moment? Now, what I've known too, man, with this astrology thing too, I've noticed that a lot of people over from that plantation uses astrology as a way of deflecting from their own um, behavioral issues. For an example, they'd be like, "Oh, the reason why I yelled at her and disrespect her because my moon is in the third house and I'm a North Node and I'm a Capricorn, Moon, Cancer, fucking whatever." They'll go into that shit. So what that led us to was astrology and really understanding it more. And what I've learned from it is that astrology makes you not hold yourself accountable for your own human behavior. You can go through astrology and you can find an excuse as to why you could do one of the most fucked up things in the world to another human being. You can find an excuse. You could say like my house is in the third house. You could be like, I got a Cancer moon. This is why I am the way I am. All that type of stuff. So what they did was, or yeah, what they did was they embodied astrology into their behavior. No, I can't say in their behavior system. No, I said they use it as an excuse for bad behavior and not holding themselves accountable. Astrology was created by somebody. It wasn't created by them. And I believe one of the things that astrology was able to do was is able to control the minds and the behavior of human beings on this planet if you believe it. If you believe in astrology, it will control your brain and it will control your behavior. All that type of shit. Any type of belief system can do that. That's why we create our own belief system, because we feel like our own belief system, somebody else can't control our mind and can't control our behavior. That way we're able to do it ourselves. You know. So when we look at that solar situation and we look at how they talked about ending generational curses, well, when it was his opportunity to heal or end a generational curse, which is the father being able to be an actual father to a child and everything like that, like show up to the birth, you know what I mean, be there and help the mom and stuff with the baby, bond with the baby, with the mother and all the different type of stuff, right? Um, she's not able to do it. Shouldn't a divine masculine male be able to do that? Shouldn't a person with knowledge of self be able to do that? So when you are truly embodied in knowledge of self and divine masculine, shouldn't you be able to end a generational curse in your family or something in the world if that's what you say you were there for? That's what you said you're capable of doing. And that's what the knowledge does. The knowledge is supposed to heal generational curses. So when Solar had the opportunity to do it as a father at this present moment, he's not able to do it. He chose something else over his own newborn child being in the world. He can't even keep a relationship with the women until the baby is even born, dude. That is another problem. What is it about his soul that was exposed as to why the women was like, I don't want to fuck with you, leave? And you have two people who have done it. And when you ask him, well, other people ask him, not me. I mean, I probably would never be able to ask him and stuff like that. But he already revealed that he's still learning himself. So then you don't have knowledge of self then. You don't really know who you are. Especially when the aspects of becoming a man or healing a generational curse. You're supposed to be able to do that when that presents itself because you embody the knowledge, the information, and that's what to do it. So when things happen in life, it's one thing what my granny told me as well, is that certain things you are not going to be, you're not going to know what's going to happen. But if you are embodying that behavior and this is who you are, that no matter what happens anywhere in the world, you're still going to be that. If you have knowledge of self, right, and if you are a divine masculine male, you could drop you off at anywhere on this planet and you're still going to be that. You're still going to embody that. Look at Martin Luther King. You could drop Martin Luther King off. He believed in nonviolence. You drop him off anywhere in the world, he is still going to be nonviolent. You're not going to change that. Okay? So, when we look at Solar, all he did was contribute to another generation of children beginning their lives without their fathers being present in their life. And the women don't even want that dude around their child like that. And the only reason why they would ever possibly think about having that man around their child is to have pity for him. That's all. It's to have pity, and they will want their child to be able to know their father, so they will allow that individual. They know that Solar ain't really like compatible with them like that. They had to find that out on their own. But they will want to try to break a generation curse themselves by having a child get a bonding situation with him as the father. I can see that happening, right? So, let's close the door on Solar for a second. Now, let's just take time and reflect, you know what I'm saying, everything that we learned up to this point right now. Right? There's no need to go further, right? So we have to digest this information right here, right now, and come back with questions and answers in order to start creating medicine, in order to have a true, full understanding of the mindset of individuals who left that plantation. And I find it like as I veer more to the end of this broadcast right now, right? I look at the women, and I look at what the women, once they left the plantation, how they were able to start healing and really find themselves and the things that they said happened to them. Like girl Kendra C, we call her Sheila. She talks a lot about what happened. Even her husband talks about a lot. I can't ignore that information. They were in that situation. And if it connects to what somebody else is saying, so Kendra would say, this happened to me, blah, 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 we experienced that. And then another person would say it, and another person would say it, and another person would say it. Well, then that must mean it actually probably happened then. Right? So we're going to continue to study that. And then eventually we're going to close the door on this. I mean, I've been wanting to close the door on this for a while. But it's still me trying to understand completely. You know what I'm saying? More and more and more every day. So thanks for everybody for joining. Thanks for everybody for taking the notes. Everything like that. We'll talk to you soon.